Never seen a player dominate as effortlessly as Nikola Jokic has. He's almost unselfish to a fault. What about the way that he's dominated stood out to you in game one?
Yeah, I think, Kevin, the thing that's most amazing about Nikola Jokic is that he never forces the issue and yet has these ridiculous stat lines when it's all said and done. He's in perfect control of what's happening out there. The pace of the game, where the ball goes, every situation he's processing. I feel like he makes every read correctly and makes the simple play more often than not that just leads to great offensive basketball for his team. So I think for me, to watch him in game one, pick his spots to that extent in the first half, not take his first shot of the game until just a few seconds remained in the first quarter, and yet still be the most dominant player on the floor, I think it just speaks to his greatness and how difficult it is to come up with an effective game plan against him, because he'll beat you as a scorer, he'll beat you as a passer, he'll beat you as a screener, and he'll beat you with his mind. And when you put all that in one body, it just creates such a difficult task for any team to come up with the proper game plan that will affect him.
Really kind of pick your poison when it comes to Jokic and Murray, who were both really good in game one. The Nuggets as a team weren't great, nor were the Heat. Legs, they took 39 threes in game one, just 2 free throws all game. Jimmy Butler said that's got to change. They're a team that's predicated offensively on the three. How do you change that in the NBA Finals, no less?
Yeah, the Heat been an interesting story because they shot the ball far better in the postseason to this point than they did in the regular season. But you saw some of that regular season shooting was surfaced in that first game. And look, it comes down to this. Are you getting good shots or not? I think that's Erik Spoelstra's biggest concern. And if you go back and look at the film from this game, I think they believe they've got pretty good shots in that game. They just couldn't knock it down. And I don't know if it was a confidence issue, if guys started to press a little bit as they missed some shots. It was at the stage of the finals. We don't know that yet after one game. Let's see how this progresses with their shooters. Strus, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin. Those guys got to carry their weight because Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo are going to get a lot of attention. So they're going to have to knock down their share of open shots. And they did not do that, obviously, in game one. They will be better in game two. That's the good news for the Heat. The bad news for the Heat is that I think Denver actually could be a lot better as well. But the Miami Heat certainly have to knock down shots, and they've got to get to the foul line. Jimmy Butler, I think, needs to be more aggressive in the first quarter, trying to finish those drives rather than come to a jump stop and find people. He needs to put points on the board, and getting to the line would be a great way to get his night started.
Tyler Hero could return in game two. That's one storyline of many to keep an eye on. Sunday night, 80.
And Nikola Jokic, he led the way with 27 points, 14 assists, and 10 rebounds. And he joined Jason Kidd as the only players in NBA history with triple-doubles in their finals debuts. Jamal Murray also threw in 26 points and 10 boards. So it was Jokic and Murray who joined Magic Johnson and James Worthy as the only teammates with 25 and 10 each in a finals game. Now, in the loss, it was Bam Adebayo who led the Heat with 26 points and 13 rebounds to become the 6th player in franchise history with multiple double-doubles in the finals. So he wasn't the problem. And there was Jimmy Butler, who shot only 43%, while Caleb Martin and Max Strus combined to go 1 for 17, which is tied for the worst field goal percentage in the NBA Finals by 2 starting teammates in the last 50 seasons. I need some adjustments. Here's Nick Friedel.
The key for the Heat going into game two, be more aggressive. It starts with Jimmy Butler. He said, I've got to set the tone getting to the rim. On top of that, they just have to hit open shots. Max Strus was 0 for 10. Caleb Martin was 1 for 7. Erik Spoelstra said, those guys aren't going to get seasick. We're going to them again, and they'll hit the shots when it matters. Now, as we look ahead, Spoelstra was very confident that his team would respond. He has always believed they are at their best when their backs are against the wall, and he believes they'll step up in game two on Sunday night.
Hours before game one, Michael Malone gave the Denver Nuggets a pop quiz. It's safe to say the Nuggets passed their first finals test. Didn't matter what Miami threw at them defensively. Aaron Gordon set the tone with old-school bully ball to take advantage of a mismatch. Jamal Murray controlled the game with his scoring and passing. And Nikola Jokic, who took just 5 shots in the first 3 quarters, collected yet another triple-double, joining Jason Kidd as the only players to have one in their finals debut. I asked Jokic what he thought of Malone's quiz. He replied, "He didn't ask me nothing." The next test comes in Game 2, but the Nuggets feel they have all the answers.
Let's talk money. The Nuggets are favored in Game 2 by 8.5 points. They're nearly 4-1 on the money line, and the total for the game, that's set at 215.
Press had the most assists in NBA Finals debut game in Game 1 with 14 assists, 9 triple-doubles this playoffs. That's an NBA record, and we just started the Finals. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, for the Heat, a lackluster performance in Game 1 of the Finals. You can see Miami's 2-8 when Butler scores 15 or less. He had 13 in Game 1. Hey there, everyone. Welcome inside our NBA TV studios. I'm Stephanie Reddy. This is Greg Anthony, and it is Finals media availability. You know what that means? You get to hear from players, from coaches, as we get you ready to take in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, which will be tomorrow night. GA, we have a guest, but just quickly, your thoughts as we head into the media sessions. What do you think that you'll get from players and coaches today?
Well, I'm always interested to hear from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint the adjustments, what they need to be better at, and particularly you feel that way about the team that loses, right? So
Right.
I'm really anxious to hear from Spo and from Butler and these guys in terms of what they felt cost them that game. And then with Denver, let's see how they can use what happened in that fourth quarter to get them ready for Game 2, because they were dominant in that.
Yes. Well, I mentioned we have a guest. It's time now to bring him in. Our very own Jared Greenberg. We're so excited that you're here with us. I see you're right in the thick of things as usual. Jared, how are you doing?
Doing great, Stephanie. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thank you for taking time out to join us. Let's start off with the Miami Heat. As you just heard GA talk about, that's where I think people have the most interest. They want to see how will they rebound from that loss in Game 1. What is the Heat mindset headed into Game 2?
Yeah, I don't think this team gets rattled, although they are used to winning Game 1s. I think their biggest thing right now is making some open shots. But with all the bad three-point shooting they had, they were still a plus 15 from the three-point line in Game 1 over Denver. So neither team had a particularly good night. But Coach Spoelstra saying after the game, we've got a bunch of ignitable guys. And once they get going, it's like an avalanche. They certainly expect the Max Struses, the Duncan Robinsons, even Jimmy Butler to get going from the outside. But I think the more concerning issue for the Heat, that you will see a major adjustment, was the fact that they were a minus 14 at the free throw line, stemming mostly from the fact that Miami only took 2 free throws the entire game. Now, Bam Adebayo said he didn't want to comment about it because he didn't want to get fined, and I've confirmed from the league, Bam Adebayo certainly will not be getting fined for his comments that he made after Game 1. The bigger thing has to be guys like Jimmy Butler playing downhill, because Denver really doesn't have true rim protectors. You've got to challenge the Nuggets at the rim, and I would expect they'll do that. I also think that there's a chance we see Kevin Love in Game 2 for his three-point presence. His help, along with somebody else, may help them get going from the outside.
Well, you mentioned we might see more of Kevin Love. I'm curious, has there been any update on the status of Tyler Hero for the Heat?
So no official word yet on Tyler Hero, who again has been out for almost 2 months, and the thought process back when he first broke his hand was, well, there's no way we're going to see him again, because how in the world is the 8th seed going to ever reach the NBA Finals? Well, here we are. And here's the opportunity. What's going to happen is what I've learned is going to happen today is that after the Denver Nuggets practice and do media availability, we will then have media availability with the Miami Heat. At that time, I will anticipate Eric Spoelstra saying he will not have an update on Tyler Hero until tomorrow. The reason for that is because once the media clears out of this arena this afternoon, Tyler Hero will be a part of the Miami Heat practice. The coaches and the medical staff will evaluate him. They'll talk with him and decide whether he can give it a go tomorrow night in Game 2, or if they will hold off for Game 3 in Miami.
That makes perfect sense. I thought you were going to say Spo wasn't going to give you an update just because he's Spo, but I understand where you're going
right,
with
well, that's a good point, too, yeah.
with your logic. All right, so now on the other side, Jokic. He's been nothing short of amazing, but How is he able to be so impactful when he does not get a ton of FGAs? He still dominates the game.
Yeah, Stephanie, I think this was the most amazing part of game one. And this is, if you're a Miami fan, you're saying, okay, we can't have a worse shooting night. But you could also say Nikola Jokic could be a whole lot better, even in his brilliant performance he had in game one. He only had a handful of shots in the first half and only 12 in the game. Is there another team in the NBA that has their superstar focal point of their offense only take 12 shots and they could get what felt like a dominant win? I don't know if there is. And the problem with Jokic, if you're trying to come up with schemes and adjustments, is that if you want to take away the others and not let him have those passing lanes, then fine. He's perfectly capable of taking 20, 25 shots and lighting you up for 40 or 50 points. He is the